You know, delivering excellence is more than just 18 wheels moving products around the country. Trucking is complex, and its people are passionate. Accommodating a diverse driving workforce, ever-changing regulations, supply chain demands, and new technologies all present their own challenges, but in trucking, the creative and the innovative succeed. Let's understand the people that drive and support the trucking industry. And welcome to Garner Trucking's Beyond the Cab. Hello and welcome to another edition of Beyond the Cab. I'm your host, Tim Krolski, and today I've got a couple of very special guests. I have Kelly Mitchell, one of our Garner drivers, and I also have Ed McKinley on the phone, doing something a little bit different this time. We want to talk to you today about Wreaths Across America, and Kelly's here today because he actually participated in this event and went to Arlington to the cemetery in Washington, D.C. and laid wreaths there over the weekend. And Ed was kind enough to take some of his own personal time and head out there as well. And just wanted to talk to him today a bit about the experience. So for those that may not know or understand what Wreaths Across America is, I just wanted to give kind of a quick and brief history of what had taken place. The event in its initial stages was put together by the Wooster family, the Wooster Wreath Company, if you will, from Harrington, Maine. And this started back in '92. Husband and wife team, Morrill and Karen Wooster, had a volume of extra wreaths. And basically the way the story goes is they made some arrangements through the Maine Senator Olympia Snowe to place those wreaths in Arlington. Volunteers from the VFW, actually local VFW and American Legion, added bows to the wreaths. And then a local trucking company in Maine called Bluebird Ranch INC provided some of the transport to Virginia. So the Maine Society of Washington, D.C. also organized the actual wreath laying program for that year, and basically this process happened that way year after year through about 2005. When an interesting thing happened, one thing that we're all kind of familiar with is the internet and what can happen there, and a single photo that showed up on the internet of the graves and the wreaths on those graves sparked kind of a national event to start happening, as thousands of people from all over the U.S. wanted to help expand this program, not only in Arlington but across the nation. So to this day, hundreds and thousands of volunteers gather every year, be it in Arlington or at local cemeteries all around the United States. Several thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in donations and fundraising efforts that support all this, and of course a high volume of national trucking and local trucking companies that help participate and move those wreaths all around the country. The motto for the Wreaths Across America is remember, honor, and teach. And what that means is remember our fallen veterans, honor those who serve, and teach your children the value of freedom. And really it reminds us all that our freedom comes at a price. Again, I mentioned our guest today, Kelly. Kelly, you actually have some background in the military, and one of the reasons that we selected you to go to Arlington this year. Tell us a little bit about your history, if you would.
Yeah, so I served in the Army as a 14 Echo Patriot missile launcher. Had a good time in there, did my 4 years, and I got out, and now I became a trucker. And you know, it was always a good time, and I love participating in events like this, and this was just a perfect event for me to go to this year.
What drove you to the military in the first place?
I just wanted to get out of a lot of the stupid stuff I was doing.
Okay.
So, you know,
we've all been there, right?
Yeah. Just to better my life, you know, and also go in for the college education, you know, that I never took partake into until last year.
Absolutely. Well, you know, as you got started in trucking, we appreciate the fact that you chose to come to work here at Garner. What made you make the decision to get into trucking in after the military career?
Well, I mean, I drove tow trucks for almost 5 years, and I wanted to get into something a little bit bigger, and I've been thinking about it for years, and finally got tired of thinking about it and just went and did it.
I can appreciate that. So in terms of this event, There's a lot of mystery that can surround it. Not every driver gets to participate in an event like this. How many trucks involved this year? Were you aware?
No, I do believe that there's about 64 of us total.
Okay, so a very small number of truck drivers get an opportunity to do this, and we try to alternate that responsibility as we've participated for about the last 6 or 7 years in the event. So talk to me a little bit. What was the process? What was it like getting into Arlington? What do you have to go through? Then from there you go to a hotel, and then the next day back to Arlington. Can you talk us through that a little?
Yeah, it was a lengthy process for sure. Just like anything in the military, it's hurry up and wait. But I mean, the actual process itself, I mean, it was a good time. I got out and met a lot of other truckers. Had a good time over there. Yeah, there was a lot of sitting and waiting, but it is what you make of it.
So how do they escort you into the cemetery? What do they do?
Yeah, so you drive up to the gate whenever it's finally your turn, and you get a person that hops into the cab with you, and they take you around the cemetery to tell you where to park at, and that's where you park until the little shuttle bus came and picked you up.
They pick you up right there at the truck?
Yeah. You weren't allowed to leave the truck until whenever they got there.
Okay.
And then you ride that shuttle over to another bus that will take you over to the hotel.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Ed, kind of what were your first impressions of the event? I guess I want to take you to Friday. I know you got into D.C. in the afternoon. And kind of talk me through what your first impressions were on your arrival there and leading up to the banquet.
Oh, okay, absolutely. It's a very humbling experience that my wife and I both had. Got to the hotel Friday afternoon, and then met up with Kelly and George, his brother, later on that evening for some cocktails and hors d'oeuvres. Went into the dinner, and just I was from 5:30 until I think 9:30 for the dinner, but they gave out awards. Of course, all the truck drivers got mentioned for their service, whether they're in the military and or coming to Arlington this year. And so they got a little token and I think a little decal for their service coming into it. But after that, the next morning we took the metro down to Arlington, and you walk, it's all uphill. But it just, the first impression, you see all the gravestones, and it just kind of throws you back. I believe there's 250,000. Obviously, we didn't see all those, but saw a fair amount as our journey up the hill to get to the truck where Kelly was. But very humbling, and all the boxes were off the trailers. They had just regular people who came through taking wreaths and laying on the graves, and my wife and I and Kelly and George, his brother, all got to put wreaths on the graves. So it was very rewarding. I feel privileged and honored to have attended that. Wish everybody could do that at least one time. As we laid the wreaths on the graves, you say the name of the person and their rank, if they were in the Army or Navy or whatever, and put the wreath down. And so it can bring some tears to your eyes, but very, very humbling. But just thrown back, it was just such a great experience, Tim. Really enjoyed it.
Kelly, what was the pilgrimage like? And I appreciate the fact that Ed brought up your brother was with you, which that had to be an enlightening experience for your brother. What was the pilgrimage like from Maine to D.C. for you?
Like the drive?
Yeah.
It was pretty decent. It was great to have someone to talk to, just for the fact that, I'm in a lot of that big city driving, and I've never done that before.
Yeah.
I've been driving less than a year, and to have this privilege was just amazing. So having someone to talk to was definitely a blessing. It kept me up all night, and kept me driving on.
Nice. Did you travel in a caravan or anything with anybody else, or were you by yourself?
We actually met up with people by mistake.
Okay.
We stopped at the last rest area right there before Washington, and we were sitting there. I was cleaning the windows off, the headlights off, trying to get the truck as presentable as I possibly could, being on the road. And I happened to see, about 20 other trucks pull in for the Wreaths Across America, so we hopped in line.
Nice. That's great. It has real impact too when you can do that in a caravan situation. I know you had the decal trailer with the Wreaths decal trailer that we put together several years back, and that always has real impact too, I think, out on the road. Did you have any preconceived notions or ideas about this event? What were you thinking before you got there in terms of what that event was going to be like, and did those expectations then meet or exceed what you originally thought?
I mean, it definitely exceeded. I thought it was going to be, a little bit less planned. I didn't think it was going to be that organized.
Okay.
But I mean, they had my truck unloaded. It would have been a lot faster if there was more people to lay the wreaths on the graves a lot quicker, but I mean, they had the big old pile of boxes ready for people to lay out of the truck within, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes, and that was quite a bit. I mean, there was 4,050 wreaths inside of that truck, so it was quite a task.
Yeah, it's a pretty impressive event in total, and the operation, as you said, I've been there, had the privilege of going there a few years back. In fact, there's a picture here in my office that hangs of that event and the day that I went there, and it's absolutely amazing what they accomplished in terms of unloading the trailer, unloading the boxes, folding the boxes, getting them all stored and ready to go to be picked up or sent back for recycling. It's such a cool, slick event, and it is very well executed. Yeah. Ed, what about you? Did you have some thoughts before the event, and did those meet or exceed your expectations?
No, actually, I didn't have any preconceived notions on how it was going to all take place. But once we got there and of course went through the dinner, that was all planned out. That was regimented, very nicely done. And then once we got up to the truck, of course the boxes were all off. But no, I really didn't. I guess have any notions on how it was all going to take place. I've seen pictures of it before, just being with Garner for a number of years, but until you actually get there, just like Kelly was saying, they have, I think it was 10 volunteers per truck that unload you and keep you going. They sweep it up, very organized, very well organized. So I was super impressed with it, Tim.
Nice.
Yeah.
Kelly, did you share or hear any stories from other families? I know that when I went, there were a few folks that pulled me aside and shared a few moments of their life about some impact that the military or services had on their lives. Did you get into that situation while you were there?
Unfortunately, no. I didn't get into anything like that. I've had people come up to me and was shaking my hand and saying thank you and stuff like that, but nobody that ever shared any thoughts on it.
So, okay, in hindsight now, how would you describe your experience in Arlington, especially to someone who hadn't been there in the past? How would you describe that?
I mean, honestly, it was very terrible. I mean, it was. Definitely brought tears to your eyes whenever you're going out to these graves. I mean, you can tell that, they don't get a lot of attention out there, and it definitely makes you tear up quite a bit, and calling out the person's name and their rank, it definitely does something to you.
It's a just as meaningful an experience here locally. I can attest to that, but the impact of Arlington Cemetery, I think, first of all, as Ed described it beautifully, as far as walking in there and what you see, in the kind of the grand scope of seeing every single gravesite with a wreath, all facing the same way. It really does have impact on your life on a very humbling level.
Oh yeah, it sure does.
Ed, what would you say if someone was pondering the idea of making that trip to the District of Columbia for next year's Wreaths event? What would you say to them?
Absolutely go and take cameras and take lots of pictures, because as you mentioned and I said earlier, and also Kelly, it'll bring a tear to your eyes. It's very humbling, and to me it's a privilege and honor. So if you have a chance to go to visit it, even if it's not Wreaths Across America, which is quite a stellar event in my opinion, but even if you could just go there and just take in that whole environment there. I believe it's 600 and some acres, 260,000 gravestones, but I believe there's 400,000 buried there. But it's a great experience. Absolutely, if you get a chance, definitely go.
Take advantage of it.
Yes.
So, Ed, for you, what would you say the most impressive part of the experience was?
Oh my gosh, I would say the laying of the wreaths on the graves. I guess you really don't. I'm not sure how to describe that, but humbling. I keep saying that word, but until you actually take some wreaths and walk out and put it on a gravestone and know that somebody there, or everybody there, died for this country and died for our freedom. It is a kind of a tear up, just as Kelly said, you get tears in your eyes. So I definitely have a great appreciation for the military, and just an overall fascinating experience for me. So,
Kelly, what would you say? What's your one takeaway?
I would definitely say the laying of the wreaths as well. I mean, it was a great honor, great privilege. And I mean, it definitely makes you tear up and makes you, it gives you goosebumps and makes your hair stand up, and I mean, it was just a fantastic experience, and I'd say for anyone to do it, I mean, even if I don't get to do it again, I'm still thinking about taking vacation days and going out there every year now, just so I can go lay the wreaths. I mean, it was that good that, I want to take the kids out there, and take the girlfriend out and let them all experience what I did.
Is that the first time you've been to D.C.?
Yes, that's the first time I've ever been there.
Okay, yeah. There's quite a bit to see, quite a bit to do.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly can't do it from the seat of the truck, though, unfortunately.
Oh, no. No.
So what's interesting about this is you had your brother with you.
Mm-hmm.
Ed, you had Diane with you. And
yes.
What kind of impressions, what were their parting thoughts? Kelly, let's start with you. What were your brother's parting thoughts?
Yeah, so he was very impressed by it all. I mean, he's never been in a big rig before. Definitely never been to Arlington or D.C. or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And he was very impressed and very touched in a different way. And and he don't want to become a trucker, but he wants to go to Arlington again.
Nice.
And for him to show support like that, that's amazing.
Yeah. Ed, how about from your corner of the world? How'd your wife like things?
She absolutely loved it. Same with me. And as she was laying some wreaths, I could look and see she had a few tears that's coming down too. But absolutely loved it, and she felt it was quite the honor and privilege as well to go there to represent Garner and show our appreciation for the drivers who took time out to deliver all that, and also to our military. So very good.
There's a large commitment, even in being asked, I know, to make that trip to DC. Obviously, we've got to get out there. That means that we've got freight that we're hauling to actually a part of the country that we typically don't go to, which makes things a little bit more difficult. Getting out there and finding all the nuances with a potential new customer can be a little difficult. I think for the most part had a pretty smooth go of it there, but the week starts very early, and if it takes you basically that entire week and the weekend to be able to get back. So I want to say specifically to you, Kelly, that I appreciate all the time and dedication that it took to make this trip and make that happen. And to both you and to Ed, I really want to thank you for the representation for Garner and certainly the patriotic duty that we have to remember, honor, and teach. In upholding that motto, I think, is very important and an important part of certainly what Garner Trucking is about. We understand the cost of freedom and what it's taken for us to be able to say and do the things we do, and to do those things and say those things freely. It comes at a very, very high cost. So it's important that we pay tribute to those folks that paved the way and allowed us to be able to have those freedoms. Again, thanks to both of you today also for joining me on Beyond the Cab. Until we meet again. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.